sew a single stitch, there's one step that can completely transform the quality of your sewing project: securing your seams properly. Whether you're working with crisp cotton, slippery satin, or tricky curves, the right preparation helps prevent shifting, puckering, and uneven seams. Pinning seams before sewing helps keep your fabric aligned and prevents shifting while you stitch. For most seams, place your pins at a 90-degree angle to the seam line with the pin heads facing outwards. This makes the pins easy to remove as you sew and helps keep the fabric layers stable. For curved seams, use more pins and space them closer together to help the fabric shape smoothly. Just remember the golden rule: never sew over pins. Stitching over pins can bend or break your sewing machine needle, damage your machine, or even cause injury if the needle snaps. The type of fabric will also affect how you pin. Stable woven fabrics like cotton usually need fewer pins, while slippery or stretchy fabrics need much more support to stop them shifting during sewing. For delicate fabrics like silk or satin, standard pins may leave visible holes. Instead, use extra fine silk pins and place them only within the seam allowance wherever possible. And if you're working with leather, neoprene, or scuba fabrics, avoid pins altogether. Pins leave permanent holes in these materials, so fabric clips are a much safer option. Another way to secure seams before sewing is by using clips. Clips are a brilliant alternative to pins because they hold layers together without piercing the fabric. They're ideal for leather, faux leather, neoprene, scuba, vinyl, and coated fabrics, and they're also excellent for thick or bulky seams that can be difficult to pin. They can also be helpful for delicate fabrics, especially if you're worried about snagging or marking the fabric with pins. To use them, place the clips along the seam allowance, keeping the fabric edges neatly aligned. Add more clips around curves, bulky areas, or anywhere where the fabric wants to shift. Just remember to remove each clip before it reaches the presser foot, as clips are too bulky to sew over. Clips are also useful when working with thick layers, bindings, hems, or seams that are difficult to pin securely. So if your fabric doesn't like pins, clips are often the safest option. Sometimes pins or clips just aren't enough. For slippery fabrics, layered fabrics, or materials with a nap like velvet or corduroy, tacking, also called basting, gives you much more control. Tacking uses temporary hand stitches to hold fabric layers together before machine sewing. Use a thread colour that contrasts clearly with your fabric so the stitches are easy to remove later. Old or weaker thread that's no longer suitable for machine sewing can also be perfect for tacking, so nothing goes to waste. There are a few common types of tacking. Even tacking uses long-running stitches, usually about 1 centimetre long. This is ideal for general seam securing and for more detailed or fiddly areas. Uneven tacking speeds up long seams by alternating long stitches with tiny holding stitches in between. This is especially useful when preparing hems or long garment seams. Diagonal tacking is used over large areas to secure layers like linings or interlinings so they don't creep or shift during construction. For delicate fabrics, use a very fine needle and keep all tacking stitches within the seam allowance to avoid visible holes in the finished garment. And remember, the more carefully you prepare your seams before sewing, the cleaner and more professional your finished garment will look. Always match raw edges carefully before pinning or clipping. Pin or clip more frequently around curves and corners. Test your pins on delicate fabrics first to make sure they don't leave marks. Fine fabrics need fine pins and fine needles. Remove pins or clips gradually as you sew. Never force your machine over them. And when in doubt, take the extra time to tack. It often saves time later by preventing mistakes and unpicking. Using too few pins, which can allow fabric layers to shift. Pulling fabric too tightly while pinning or tacking, which can distort the seam. Using standard pins on delicate or specialty fabrics and leaving visible holes. Sewing over pins or clips instead of removing them as you go. And skipping seam preparation altogether, which often leads to uneven seams and extra unpicking later. And there you have it. Taking the time to secure your seams properly will make sewing easier, improve your accuracy, and give your garments a far more professional finish. For more sewing Bexpertise, I've linked helpful videos in the description below. Please don't forget to subscribe, and as always, happy sewing!